My brother-in-law wants to marry me, and I don't know what to do. To start from the beginning, I married my husband when we were quite young. We were both in our early 20s and hadn't really dated before, but we were instantly best friends and couldn't imagine not spending our lives together. John's brother Finn was amazing. He was a little younger than John, but had the same rugged good looks and kind heart. I remember the first time I met John's family. I was so nervous, but they all made me feel instantly comfortable. John's family was huge into board games. That was new to me. My family was very uptight and we didn't play games or really have much fun together at all. We were still there for each other, but it wasn't a fun and easy love like John's family. John and Finn were very close and did everything together. It was a relief meeting him and knowing that I could fit in. Finn seemed to have a different girl every few months, but we would all hang out together and even went camping together. John's family was big into the outdoors and camping, another big difference between our families. My parents were intellectuals and were never big on the outdoors. The closest we got to camping was when we got stranded on the highway once and we had to hoof it to a motel that was next to some woods. That was it. My first camping experience was with John, Finn, and Finn's latest girlfriend, Mary. We had separate tents but shared everything else. We cooked and ate our meals together, sat around the fire together, and went on hikes together. I wasn't Mary's biggest fan, but I liked her more than the last one who was way younger than Finn and showed it in her maturity. That first camping trip was the start of many. I learned that I too love the outdoors and wanted nothing more than to wake up in a tent with John by my side. We would rock, paper, scissors it every morning to see who would get up first to get the coffee going. Those were great times. We went on about 5 trips a year and always took Finn and whomever he was dating at the time with us. One fall trip to the mountains we went on would change my life forever. On this particular trip, John and Finn had split the cost of a canoe and were very excited about exploring the many interconnected lakes in the area we were going to. The day before we left, I had been checking the weather and saw that there were storm warnings for the mountains where we were headed. I mentioned it to the boys, but they of course just brushed it off with a shrug and it's all part of the experience. I didn't want to be all girly and push the issue, but the storm warnings were severe, and I was definitely a little nervous. Our first night rolling into the campsite, the weather was decent enough. The sun was still shining, but the clouds were rolling in fast. The next day, we awoke to the sound of rain on the tent. That quickly became one of my all-time favorite sounds. I was settling in for a nice relaxing morning of drinking coffee and reading in the tent when I heard the boys dragging the canoe off the Jeep and hauling it down the water's edge. I poked my head out of the tent as they were walking back up to the site. "You're not planning on going canoeing in this, are you?" I called. It wasn't raining super hard, but it was clearly getting worse. "We'll wait it out for a bit to see if it slows down and then we'll go." That made sense to me. We all piled into Finn's tent, which was larger than ours, and played some cards. Jen was my favorite of Finn's girlfriends so far. She had a great personality, and I was really hoping she would stick around for longer than the usual 6 months. We hung out in the tent for the day, talking, laughing, and playing games. At 5, we crawled out to get the cook stove going and make some dinner. After dinner, the rain seemed to finally be slowing. "Well," said Finn, "should we head out for a bit? The day will be over soon, and I don't want to have hauled it down there for nothing." We all glanced down to the water's edge where the canoe sat untouched. We decided it wouldn't hurt to take it out for a little spin now that the storm was slowing down. I seem to remember seeing lightning warnings for tonight in the mountains, but again, the boys brushed it aside and said not to worry. We piled into the canoe and pushed off. It was beautiful. There really were all these little channels connecting bodies of water through the mountains, and it was a new and unique way to see the landscape for me. I noticed we were getting farther and farther away from the site. and the rain was starting to come down harder. When I heard the sky grumbling overhead, I strongly suggested we head back in. John looked up and, to my surprise, agreed with me. We started to turn the canoe around when there was the loudest crack and boom I'd ever heard. The lightning came down from the sky right above us and shook the entire canoe. I was gripping the sides when I turned to look at John behind us. He was slumped over the side of the canoe and was about to slide into the water. I screamed and scrambled to get him. Me and Finn grabbed him just in time and hauled him aboard. He had been hit by the huge lightning bolt and was not moving or responding to anything we said or did. Finn knew CPR, so Jen and I did our best to row us back to the site as quickly as possible. Of course, we had gone so far that it took us more than an hour to row back. Finn was crying and performing CPR, but John wasn't responding. When we got back to the site, Finn told us to stay put and that he would drive John into town and the nearest hospital. I wanted to go with them, but Jen was beside herself, shivering and crying, and I knew we would be in the way more than anything. I watched as Finn peeled out of the site and speeded up to the highway. I'm not a religious person, but I prayed that night. 2 hours later, Finn texted me that he was on his way back to the campsite and that he didn't want to talk over the phone. I knew what that meant. John had died. When Finn came back, the look on his face confirmed my worst fear. I melted into his arms while he rocked me back and forth and stroked my hair tenderly. I was in shock. The next day, we packed up our stuff and headed into town. We phoned John and Finn's parents from there and told them the news. I could hear the shrieks of John's mother, and that sound still haunts me to this day. Finn was amazing. He practically organized the whole funeral. No one knew John like he did, so he picked the music, the photos, pretty much everything. Neither John's mom nor I were in the shape to organize anything. After the funeral was over, that's when things got very hard. All the cards stopped, the visitors left, the platitudes ended. Life got back to normal for everyone else. Finn and I started meeting up once a week for coffee. We were like each other's counselor. We talked about John, mourning, and how we were getting through the days. We were becoming closer and started texting too. If one of us was having a particularly hard moment or day, the other was our lifeline. We were like AA partners. Looking back on those days, I don't know how either of us would have made it without the other. A year later, Finn surprised me by showing up at my door with flowers on my birthday. I was shocked, but happy to see him. I invited him in and we cracked a bottle of wine, or 2 or 3. By the end of the 3rd bottle, I could sense that we were transitioning into flirting. It was subtle, but it was there. A hand on the knee and extra long eye contact were the things I was noticing. I had to admit I was enjoying myself. I hadn't dated or even thought about it since John died, and this was the first time I felt the stirrings of wanting something more. I felt so guilty that it was with John's brother, my brother-in-law. When I said I thought he should leave, his eyes filled with concern. He said, "I take it you think we are being inappropriate." I smiled awkwardly and said what I feel super inappropriate about is the feelings I'm having for you right now. Finn's eyes filled with hope, and he said the sweetest thing. "Sarah, I know you don't know this, and you might not be ready to hear it, but I love you and want to marry you. I always have." So my brother-in-law wants to marry me. And if I'm being completely honest, I want to marry him too. I suggested we start slow with dating, and Finn agreed. We will have to see where it goes, but I'm hopeful that I'll get my happy ending yet. To watch more animated story videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And tell us in the comments section what you thought about this story.